am a night shift security guard for a series of parking garages in the entertainment district in my city. Security is necessary here because people will leave cars after hours, drunkenly trash the bays, and homeless people will seek shelter here, which is an insurance liability. I take no joy in turning away people looking for shelter, but I take very little joy in any aspect of my job, save the solidarity. I put in my headphones at the beginning of my shift at 9 p.m. I set up podcasts to listen to until my shift ends at 5 in the morning. From 2 to 2:30, I get drunks out of the garage and on their way home. But other than that, I very rarely have to talk to anyone. Nobody wants to talk to a security guard, and this particular security guard doesn't care to talk to them either. Of course, I get bored, but I need the money, and I don't ever think to myself, I wish I had someone to talk to. I always just think I wish I was at home watching movies or playing video games. That's part of what made the night I met Lauren so strange. I will start by saying that despite my natural disposition of being a lone wolf, I am still a straight human man with a pulse, so I enjoy the attention of a beautiful girl. The second Lauren walked into the garage, sat down on the curb, and lit up a cigarette, she had all of my attention. First of all, she didn't acknowledge me, like at all. Most people walk into an empty space and see a security guard, they at least say something. She did not. She was gorgeous even under the fluorescent lighting, which very few people are, and she moved with so much confidence. She was wearing gray jeans with rips and tears all the way down her legs. She had a blank black t-shirt on and an old pair of Vans on her feet. She had a pixie cut that was dyed green and a ring through her nose. I caught myself staring, and so did she. "Can I help you with something?" Her voice echoed across the garage where I was standing. It filled all of the space in the garage, almost like we were in a school gym. I just figured she was loud on purpose. "Well, this is private property, ma'am. No parking after 2 a.m. And it's almost 3:30, so anybody in here is considered to be trespassing." God, I sounded like such a dweeb. I hated myself when it came out of my mouth. Maybe she could tell. My goodness, trespassing because I've sat down to have a cigarette. Call the cops, I'll be gone before they get here. I won't call them as long as you promise not to stay too long. My bosses check the cameras. Your boss won't even notice I'm here, I'll be gone so fast. Just tired of walking is all. Needed to rest my feet. Not a lot of safe places for a girl to stop at 3 in the morning around here. That's okay. What are you doing out here anyway? Couldn't tell you, darling. Feels like I've been walking forever and I just need to sit. You're kind of let me have a moment to rest. I'd let you rest longer, but I kind of need this job and they've gotten on me about being too soft on people looking for shelter before. Imagine that. Someone just trying to get out of the cold or the rain or away from the thieves and other animals. A whole concrete building, safe and dry, just sitting empty while people suffer on the street. How much do they pay you to watch people suffer? Don't answer that. I'm just giving you a hard time. I really am grateful for the rest, even if it was momentary. I should be on my way. My cigarette is out. I looked down to step away from my station, and by the time I looked up, she was almost out of the door. I didn't say anything, just let her leave. There wasn't anything to say anyway. I couldn't offer her more time to rest or a safe place. I just sat back down and went back to watching the security cameras. Before my shift ended, I went back to look at the footage my boss would inevitably see, so I could measure how long she was there. Couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 minutes. I couldn't possibly get in trouble for that, but I wanted to check anyway. I started rolling the footage between 3 and 4 in the morning, and no matter which camera I was checking, I couldn't see her in any of the video. Not every single spot in the garage is covered, of course. This is important. Knocks, but I didn't think she was sitting in a blind spot. The camera from the security station was looking over my shoulder at where she should have been, but there wasn't anyone there. Furthermore, the cameras don't record audio, so I couldn't hear our conversation, even if I wanted to. The tapes bothered me all the way home, and then for days after. I then spent weeks hoping she'd come back for a sit. I wanted her to have a safe place to smoke a cigarette and rest her feet, but she never came back. It was almost 4 months later I came across the article. The article on the internet version of our local paper said that it was the 1-year anniversary of the police discovering the body of Lauren Keller. There was Lauren's face, a picture clearly taken from some social media post. She was smiling in front of a waterfall, green pixie haircut. My heart sank into my stomach. I started to read. The body of a local woman was found in the Parker Entertainment District downtown today, 6 days after she went missing. Local authorities have confirmed the body is Lauren Keller, who went missing in the early hours of September 22nd. She was walking to her nearby apartment after a night out with friends when she sent a text to her sister that she thought someone was following her. She eventually called her sister and said she would take shelter and wait for someone to pick her up, but there was some arguing heard in the background before the signal cut off. When Lauren's sister tried to call back, there was no answer. Security cameras show Lauren's last location as a parking garage on West and Main, where a security guard is seen blocking her entrance from the garage. Lauren walks away, and then 30 seconds later, a hooded figure is shown walking down the sidewalk in the same direction as Lauren. No suspect has been identified. I hope she finds a place to rest. I know I won't for a very long time. I work the night shift at my local airport. However, after the pandemic is over, I will be quitting right on the spot. I'm not sure if this will get me into some trouble, but I don't care. The force field of holding this thought in my head is falling apart. I found something disturbing at that airport. I won't give out my exact location. So let's just say I worked at a large international airport in the US. I didn't like the job, but my coworkers made up for it. I will hide their names for privacy reasons. We'll call them Jane and Parker. This all began on a busy Friday night. I arrived at the airport after enjoying a delicious chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. I worked at one of the gates towards the back of the main terminal at the airport. The one perk about working over there is that it is quiet most of the time. I'm not a fan of loud noises, although that's a bit ridiculous to say, as commercial airplanes are insanely loud. I soon arrived at my gate and began working, making sure the attendance for the next boarding time was in the green. Eventually came the time to board all the passengers. I started to scan each passenger's ticket. After the last passenger entered the gate tunnel that leads to the plane, I did a quick double check, making sure I scanned each passenger's ticket. I examined the monitor of the computer when I noticed I hadn't scanned this one guy. I headed down the gate tunnel and informed the flight crew that we were missing a passenger. One of the flight crew made the announcement about the missing passenger. Grunts and annoyed moans filled the plane. I went back up to the gate to call them over the loudspeaker. 2 minutes after the first call, he didn't come, so I did a second call. Once again, he didn't come to the gate. At this point, I was going to start doing final calls over the loudspeaker as I was, and I assumed all the passengers and flight crew were also getting impatient. All of a sudden, one of my coworkers, we'll call him Trey, told me that I was instructed to search the back halls of the terminal, as it was believed the missing passenger was located in that area of the airport. This caught me off guard, as I have never been instructed to go search for a passenger. However, I had to comply, as apparently the security guard who worked in that section called in sick for work. Trey would take over my position at the gate while I go searching for the missing passenger. I began making my way to the back halls of the terminal. When I got there, I scanned the halls looking for the missing passenger. I called out to him many times, but no response. As I made my way through the halls, I heard something coming from one of the storage rooms. It sounded like someone was messing with some of the storage containers. At first, I thought another employee was in there. However, a sinking feeling entered my body. Something didn't feel right. I began moving slowly to the storage room where the sounds were coming from. The sounds became more aggressive as I got closer to the door. I grabbed the doorknob, turned it slowly, and opened the door. I was first greeted in a dark room with some of the shelves in view. I didn't have a flashlight, so I scanned the walls for some sort of light switch. All of a sudden, the lights turned on by themselves. I assumed the lights were motion censored, but how were the lights off when I heard noises coming from the room? While questioning about this thought, I noticed something moving in the corner. Part of my view was obstructed by the shelf, so I couldn't tell what it was. I started making my way to where I saw the moving object or person. As I got closer, I could hear what sounded like someone was eating something. I called out, "Is somebody there?" No response. I rounded one of the back shelves and arrived at the corner where I saw it. What I saw will forever be planted in my memory until I leave this world. No one should ever witness what I witnessed. There was some sort of four-legged creature with rotten gray skin and lanky arms and legs. Its bones were showing, which made the creature more dreadful to see. It was feasting on a human, who I soon recognized as the missing passenger. I stood there frozen in fear, not wanting to make a single noise. But I had to escape, as I know that I will face my fate to whatever this thing is. I began quietly and slowly back away from the creature. I made about halfway from the door when I heard footsteps coming from behind me. I stood stiff as a board, and then a horrid scream echoed through the storage room. The scream was brutal, more brutal than fingernails on a chalkboard. I began sprinting for the door, with footsteps of the creature closing in. I bursted through the door and slammed it shut behind me. The creature began banging on the door, combined with a horrifying wail coming from the creature. I ran away from the door and made a mad dash for my boss's office. When I got there, I told him what happened. He didn't believe me, but told me he'll send a security team to go check it out, as he was a little concerned. The security team investigated the room, which turned up nothing, outside of a pool of blood on the floor where I saw that thing. There was a vent in the storage room, which the security team believed that's how the creature entered and escaped. The body was never found, and I got the hell out of that airport. It's been a few months since the incident and haven't recovered. I think what I saw was a Wendigo. However, the problem with that theory is that they are usually spotted in cold climates or forest, and the airport was nowhere near a forest. But whatever it was, I never want to see it again. I've been searching up possible jobs I could do after the pandemic is over, as I'm quitting once I get back to work. After I tell my boss I'm quitting, I will never return to that airport again. When I started the night shift at the Evergreen Hotel, I found a piece of paper waiting for me. Written across the top in Sharpie were the words, "Rules for Employment." "What's this?" I asked Amelia, who was packing up her things. "Just the rules," she said non-committally. "Oh, like don't steal towels and stuff?" She grimaced. "Yeah, just stuff like that," she said nervously, pulling the bag over her shoulder. "Hey, I gotta run. Nice meeting you." "See you in the morning," I said, with a wave. She grimaced again. "Yeah, of course." Then she muttered under her breath something that weirdly sounded like, "If you're still here." What was that? She walked out the automatic doors and into the parking lot. If I'm still here. Of course I'll still be here. My shift doesn't end until 7 a.m. What kind of slacker does she think I am? Shaking my head, I picked up the list of rules and began to read. Number 1. You are allowed 1 free item from the snack bar per shift. Any further items will be charged out of your wages. Number 2. Do not use the elevator between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. Number 3. You may see a tall man with a red suitcase standing in the lobby on occasion. Do not make eye contact with him. Just check him into room 231 and send him on his way. Number 4. If you hear someone crying for help in the pool area after midnight, return to your office and lock the door. Do not leave until sunrise. Number 5. Do not enter room 404 under any circumstances. Number 6. If any guests complain that the tap water is black, tar, or sticky, call the hotel owner immediately. Number 7. You must at every member of the cleaning crew in the morning. If anyone does not come up in the roster, do not let them in. Number 8. We do not keep any Bibles in guests' rooms. If a guest asks to use a Bible, keep one in the back office that they can read in the lobby. Number 9. Occasionally the computer may show vacancies on the 6th floor. Do not book anyone in these rooms. The Evergreen Hotel only has 5 floors. Number 10. Do not eat the cookies. They are for guests only. Well, that was disappointing. When I interviewed to work at the Evergreen Hotel, they'd seemed like such a mature, stable bunch. Not the type to plan out an elaborate hazing of the new employees. Because that's clearly what this was. Amelia, or whoever printed this up, had decided to scare the crap out of new hires. What a cliche, haunted hotel. At least now her muttered comment made sense. If you're still here, how many new hires had they scared off before finding me? Luckily for them, I was a horror movie buff and ex-military. I didn't scare easily. Just in case this prank got out of control, though, I saved the hotel owner's number to my cell phone, cursing my dyslexia a few times before I got it right. There were more rules, but I didn't read them. Instead, I walked into the lobby, poured myself a cold cup of coffee, and returned to the front desk. It would be an interesting night. The bell at the front desk rang. It was a little past 3. I was sitting in the back office drinking another cup of coffee playing StarCraft on my laptop. Technically, I was supposed to be going over checkout logs, but I could do that later. Another impatient ring. With a sigh, I heaved myself up from my computer and made my way to the front desk. It was him, the man with the red suitcase. I averted my eyes, focusing on the desk in front of me. Don't make eye contact. Yeah, it was an immature hazing, but that didn't mean I was going to fail at it. I'm competitive by nature, and I was going to ace this thing. From what little I saw, the man seemed to be a tall, thin man dressed in a suit, standing in the corner of the lobby next to the grandfather clock. Probably one of Amelia's friends, or that employee Dominic who I'd briefly met earlier. Oh, of course, that's why I'm not allowed to make eye contact. I'd recognize him. I broke into a smile. That's actually really clever. I looked down at my computer, pulling up the check, and screened for room 213. When I looked back up, the man was standing right in front of me. I froze. How'd he get there so fast? I hadn't even heard footsteps. He was just suddenly there. My pulse started to race, but I took a deep breath in, steadying myself. Can I help you? He didn't reply, save for his fingernails rapping against the front desk. This is getting really creepy really fast. I took in a deep, shuddering breath. No, that's what they want me to do. Get scared. They're probably watching all of this right now from the security cameras, laughing their asses off. Tap, 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 tap again. My eyes fell on his suitcase he'd left in the center of the lobby. And that's when I noticed it wasn't actually a red suitcase, it was white. But there was so much blood, or something that looked an awful lot like blood. Soaking through the cloth, it appeared red. The substance dripped out onto the floor, welling in a puddle underneath the wheels. Just a stupid prank, I told myself. My eyes snapped back to computer. I clicked on room 213. Fed the new hotel key into the reader. I plucked the key out and slid it across the desk. Without a word, he took the key. I didn't look up until the sound of his suitcase rolling across the linoleum disappeared. When I did, my blood ran cold. The floor was clean. Where the suitcase had stood, where blood had pooled onto the floor in an inky mess, there was only clean wood. What the hell? As I stood there, thoughts racing through my mind, I heard it. The ding of the elevators down the hall, and then not 60 seconds later, a cacophony of sound, racing thumps across the ceiling right above me, as if several people were running as fast as they could. The phone began to ring. Calls flooded in from rooms 202, 207, 218. What the hell is going on the second floor? That's when my eyes fell on the list, pushed aside and forgotten on the desk. Just check him into room 231 and send him on his way. Not room 213. Room 231. My dyslexia had made me read it wrong. I checked him into the wrong room. And I was starting to believe this wasn't just a dumb prank.